So Georgia proved the doubters wrong. They are now the number one team in the country again, also number one in Jordan's rankings again, which took a little bit. But they pounded Ole Miss. They scored on, I believe, all their possessions in the first half, right, Jordan?
There was one possession after the Javon Bullard interception in the first half where Georgia threw an interception themselves. So 4 out of
Oh, okay.
five.
Oh, yes, I do remember that. Yeah, that was right at the end of the first half. But just I mean, Ole Miss had nothing on defense, and their defensive front was actually hyped up. Just initial thoughts, Jordan. What you got?
My initial thoughts are that Georgia, like Evan said, looked like the number one team in the country. They are number one in my rankings again. They just absolutely dominated this game against a top 10 team, really outside of the first quarter, honestly. We remember that Ole Miss had this game at 14-14, I believe early in the second quarter. They might have scored first play of the second quarter. But after that, it was just all Georgia outscoring Ole Miss 38-3 to win the game 52-17. Just an absolutely dominating performance. Jackson Dart did not have a great performance. He ran the ball a couple times, but outside of that, just nothing. Evan, what do you think? What did
Yeah,
you think
so
about
the
Georgia?
reason why I was laughing is Jackson Dart. He turned into Jackson Duck. I mean, he was 100 something yards. Of course, I'm sad that he got injured on the running play in the third quarter that had to take him out of the game. But yeah, he was Jackson Duck. They couldn't, they started off strong. They got the first touchdown, I believe, but they couldn't match Georgia. And I think this says a lot about both teams. I think Ole Miss is more of in terms of the top 25, they're more in the teens rankings. 9 was probably a little bit high for them, if we're being honest. They barely scraped by Texas A&M, and then obviously just getting clobbered here. Good team, not anywhere near not in the top 10. I wouldn't say not anywhere near. But when it comes to Georgia, I was very impressed on how they came out. The reason why I picked Ole Miss is not because they're a worldly team. It's because I thought Georgia was going to start slow, and they didn't. This was a lot like the Kentucky game where they came out swinging. And I don't know, maybe that's just their MO this season, right? Like teams, that they can afford to start slow, they do. And then teams where they got to play, they played. And Carson Beck and company, they showed out. So very impressive performance. And I do think they deserve to be number one in the country because they're back to back looking for a third national championship. They're undefeated. They deserve number one for sure.
They do deserve number one until someone beats them. 27 wins in a row, back-to-back national titles.
Exactly.
Just an absolute dynasty right now. They're going to be number one until someone beats them.
So I think the only real it's not Washington, it's not FSU. I don't think it's Ohio State. I think Michigan's going to be Ohio State this year based on everything I've seen. Michigan's the only one I kind of see some competition, but still, you lay an egg versus TCU when it matters. I know that was last year, right? And that's why I'm giving Michigan credit right now. They look really good, but I just don't see anyone Georgia's level right now, to be honest.
I guess you could say Alabama because they're playing their best football right now, which, of course, you want to be playing your best football late in the year, like Georgia. Georgia and Alabama are set for a collision course in Atlanta on December 2nd, I believe. So that'll be a really fun game to watch. See if Georgia can three-peat. I'm not obviously we know the outcome of that game is not the national championship game, but it's a good indicator. If Georgia wins, they'll be in the playoff, right?
Yeah.
13 likely 13-0 SEC champion gets they will get in if they're 13-0 in the SEC title. Um, so we'll see what happens.
And what would be the interesting conversation is so Georgia plays at Tennessee, right? Tennessee lost their offense. It's missing in action. We don't know where it is. So they should win that game. Georgia Tech rivalry game, they should win that game, right? We're assuming we don't know that for sure. They should win those final two games and finish 12-0. But that's the really interesting conversation. So say you go to Atlanta and I'm not saying this, but this is going to happen. But just hypothetically, you lose to Alabama. Could Georgia still be in, even with a loss to Alabama?
I don't believe so. Georgia's non-conference schedule is going to hurt them. Georgia's going to have to go 13-0 in the SEC title to get in because of what the other teams look like right now. There's a possibility Florida State could be 13-0, get in. Texas could be 12-1. Oregon could be 12-1. Washington could be 13-0. Now, it's likely that Washington and Oregon play in the Pac-12 championship game. We'll see what happens. Washington has a big game on the road at Oregon State, which you guys will see our picks when we post them tomorrow. But follow our Instagram, by the way, PWTB for life.
Follow it.
Um, so we'll see how that ends up. But Georgia's going to have to go 13-0 with the conference championship game in the playoff. I don't think they'll get in if they lose a game somewhere.